Some celebrities have dark pasts, like being involved in cults. So let's take a look at some celebs who grew up in them. Now, be warned, there are a lot more celebrities that are/were a part of Scientology than you probably thought. Now, first on our list, we have Lisa Marie Presley. It appears that after Elvis Presley died, his wife Priscilla forced her daughter Lisa Marie into Scientology, where she endured its purification rundown to end behavioral problems that arose after her father's death. Lisa Marie said that the church treated her mother Priscilla like a VIP, and they didn't really care about her until 1993, when she qualified for her inheritance from her father's enormous estate. Suddenly, Scientology was much more interested in her. She recalled bitterly, "At 25, after I got the inheritance, they started grooming me to be this person who would go out and get everyone else in." Now, it's been reported that Lisa Marie distanced herself from the church, possibly around 2012, after spending 35 years as a member. Now, a former employee at the Church of Scientology who worked with Lisa Marie said that Lisa Marie had hoped that Scientology would cure her of her addiction to illegal substances and her other problems. Now, the former worker also added that Priscilla, at the suggestion of John Travolta, joined Scientology when she was mourning the 1977 death of her ex-husband, Elvis Presley. Up next is Joaquin Phoenix. I feel like Joaquin Phoenix is the most well-known celebrity who everyone knows grew up in a cult. Now, in 2016, he spoke about being born into the Children of God cult, saying, "When people bring up Children of God, there's always something vaguely accusatory about it. It's guilt by association. I think it was really innocent on my parents' part. They really believed, but I don't think most people see it that way. I've always thought that was strange and unfair." Children of God began a method known as flirty fishing that used sex to show God's love and mercy and gain converts. Now, in the same interview, Phoenix said that his parents gradually started to realize the disturbed nature of the group's practices. "I think my parents thought they found a community that shared their ideals. Cults rarely advertise themselves as such. It's usually someone saying, 'We're like-minded people, this is a community.' But I think the moment my parents realized there was something more to it, they got out," he said. Well, I'm glad his parents realized this and made the right choice, but it's crazy that he had to experience this. Then there's Keira Maguire. Keira Maguire is known for being on Richie Strawn's season of The Bachelor in 2016. Back then, Keira was edited as the villain, but in real life, a cult was the villain in her personal life. The first 5 years of Keira's life was spent in a polygamous cult, and it came to light after it was uncovered by Women's Day. Now, the cult was founded by her father in the 70s and was dubbed the Seaside Sect. Keira's mother was one of 9 wives, and the cult leader reportedly had 67 sons and daughters in total. The family settled in Bells Beach, Victoria in 1983, where Keira was born and spent much of her childhood. Shut off from the outside world, her siblings spent little time with anybody outside of their families. They were often told outsiders were evil and that God would save only them. In a statement to Women's Day, Keira explained, "I'm not in a position to comment on the leader, who is her biological father. My mother removed my family from that environment over 25 years ago. I was brought up by my mother and grandmother in Brisbane in a loving, caring, and compassionate household." She added that she's never had a relationship with her father and that he was not relevant to who I am, nor does he define me. Now, did you know about Glenn Close? Glenn Close revealed in 2014 that she spent nearly all of her childhood in a cult. Her father, William Teleferro Close, was a doctor who joined the moral rearmament cult when she was young. It wasn't until she was in the midst of studying acting at the College of William and Mary that she ended up leaving the group founded in the 1930s by Reverend Frank Buckman, known for his belief that the world could avoid war if people experienced a moral and spiritual awakening. Each of us had to go through that process of forgiveness. The actress told People's editor-in-chief Jess Cagle in an episode of the Jess Cagle interview. "It wasn't easy for my parents to talk about, certainly my father, but I guess I've made my career figuring out the whys of behavior, and I did the same thing with my parents. For years, I wouldn't trust any of my instincts because my beliefs had all been dictated to me." She explained it by saying, "You basically weren't allowed to do anything, or you were made to feel guilty about any unnatural desire." If you talk to anybody who is in a group that basically dictates how you're supposed to live and what you're supposed to say and how you're supposed to feel, it has a profound impact on on you. It's something that you have to consciously overcome. Now, I'm glad that she's overcome it and now has a healthy relationship with her parents, but that does not sound like a good experience at all. Now we have Emily Schromm. Reality star Emily Schromm, who's best known for being the Real World cast member and frequent contestant on MTV's The Challenge, grew up in a fundamentalist Christian cult in Columbia, Missouri. Now she managed to break free, and while her past was a big part of her storyline when she first appeared on The Real World, she says she didn't intend for that to happen. I don't really like to put it out there, but it's a part of my past, and I realized that the way I was raised makes me who I am, she said in a 2010 interview with Reality Wanted. Since then, she said, growing up in the church, we were taught to go testify. It was our duty to come get people to go to church. It saddens and disgusts me. Now, when she returned home, she said, the sad thing is people are still living here. What I've learned after living in a religious place for 13 years is never let yourself get stuck in a box. It's really good to see how we've grown, but just live your life and don't let a place like this hold you back. Now, it was good that she was able to get herself out and was able to change her beliefs. Now we have Angel Haze. Rapper Angel Haze grew up following the very restrictive principles of the Pentecostal Greater Apostolic faith. We all lived in the same community within 10 minutes of each other, she told The Guardian in 2013. You weren't allowed to talk to anyone outside of that. You weren't allowed to wear jewelry, listen to music, to eat certain things, to date people. You weren't allowed to do pretty much anything. Church was on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. When they did revivals, it was every day. I used to just crawl under the bench and try to sleep. Now, she eventually broke from the community, which she says she's come to realize as a cult. Upon leaving, she began to write poetry, which eventually led her to hip-hop. Angel said her life changed when she heard Eminem for the first time, which led her into becoming a rapper. Now, I can't imagine having to live a life like she did, as that sounds horrible. Now let's discuss Christopher Owens. Musician Christopher Owens' family were members of the Children of God sect. He traveled throughout Asia and Europe to help recruit new members before leaving the cult. Christopher told The Guardian about what it was like and said, imagine being raised in the ban. Being told everybody else in the world is bad, rejecting technology, rejecting medical research, being devoted to God, and believing America was evil and at the end of the world was coming. All the same principles. He added that we lived in places so secluded that mail or phone calls just didn't exist. We had such a restricted upbringing, so we were only allowed to watch wholesome old musicals. I'll never forget that because later when I moved back to the States, friends would discuss movies like Terminator with me and I'd be like, has anyone seen Oklahoma? Now, unfortunately, his older brother lost his life after the cult refused to allow him conventional medical intervention, and now to me, that is just plain evil. Now later, when his father and sister chose to leave, Christopher had to sever his ties with both of them for many years. People who left for good were called backsliders. To look back or have any contact with them was to drag you down, he said. Thankfully, though, as mentioned before, he got out and is grateful for that. Moving on to the Arquette siblings. Rosanna, Richmond, Patricia, Alexis, and David Arquette were all born into a cult called the Skymont Subid Commune in Virginia. Despite garnering rumors that the hippie collective was a cult, Rosanna assured the Daily Beast that the place was set up as a way of worshiping God in any way you feel, but it wasn't a cult thing at all. Now, she did, however, acknowledge that having a lot of dysfunctional human beings in one compact place may have resulted in some unfortunate behavior by some yucky adults. Now, her siblings see it another way, though. In an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Patricia admitted that though the goal was to build this little utopian society, the reality bordered on them living in extreme poverty to achieve it. She explained there was no electricity, no bathroom, and not even running water in their accommodation there. Now, due to this upbringing, it caused David to become an alcoholic and have issues with illegal substances. Now, this whole story is just so sad, and I can't believe their parents put them through it. Next up, we have Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder has had an unusual childhood, to say the least. Growing up, her family moved to a commune in North California, and there they joined 7 other families who all shared over 300 acres of land. This place is called the Rainbow Commune, and it has been around since the early 1970s. Now, this group was heavily inspired by the famous 1969 Woodstock Festival, as well as the anti-war, pro-love movements. Just think of it like it was filled and run by hippies. Now, the remote property had no electricity or television sets, but everything isn't sunshine and rainbows though, as in the most serious incident at the commune, 2 women had their lives ended at a rainbow gathering in 1980 after there had been brewing tensions between between the Rainbow family and the locals. Now after that, Winona's family left the group in 1981, which was probably the best thing to do. And to end our list, we have Leah Remini. Leah Remini had been a member of Scientology since she was a young girl. In July 2013, she left Scientology owing to policies that forbid members from questioning the management of church leader David Miscavige, which she blames was corrupt, the reported mistreatment of members of its Sea Org religious order, its policy of disconnection, and its practice of branding those who left the church of their own accord as suppressive persons. During a September 9th, 2013 appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, she discussed her departure from Scientology and the loss of friends who are still in the church, who, according to Leah, are not permitted to have contact with her. Following her departure from Scientology, she publicly expressed her appreciation for those who supported her departure, and in 2016, Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath came out. It was a documentary series that investigated the Church of Scientology through the experiences of Leah and other former members. Now, this caused a stir in the community, and in 2013, Leah sued the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige, accusing them of harassment, stalking, psychological torment, and operating an over 10-year campaign to ruin and destroy her life and livelihood. Now, Scientology has pretty much ruined her life, and the stories there are all so disturbing. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 dark celebrities who grew up in scary cults. Did anyone on our list shock you? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. I'm your host, Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.